We've got a mega update from the Rams minicamp in Hawaii. Also, some bad news about the possibility of trading for Jalen Ramsey. All that more coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Join the party. Subscribe to the Locked On Rams YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. And if you really want to support the show, hit the like button. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me DMAC. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, chat sports, Bleach Report, SI. I also do NFL radio for Westwood One. Dan Flying Solo, the People's Channel, will be back next week. Got a jam-packed show today, though. All the nuggets, all the news, all the notes you need to know coming out of Rams minicamp in Hawaii. Also, an update on Jalen Ramsey. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So, lots to get into here on a Friday episode. And we got to start with Jalen Ramsey just because that is a major nugget. That's a major development, and it's going to really ultimately decide kind of what the Rams do at that position, because we've been kind of waiting, kind of lurking. Is there going to be any new news? Well, let's start with the fact that Jalen Ramsey, still a member of the Miami Dolphins, he did skip the Dolphins' mandatory mini camp, and they did that because they're trying to trade him. Now, he does spend a lot of time in Los Angeles. He still has a lot of friends, a lot of roots here on the West Coast, and the Rams are a team that he would be interested in getting traded to. Well, it's pretty interesting. He was actually hanging out with Eric Weddle. They were doing a workout at USC with his son Gage. He's in high school. He has been recruited by some big top programs, so he's doing some work with him at the USC campus. They took a picture, and Rams fans are freaking out. Oh, does this mean anything about Jalen Ramsey and getting a deal done? For me, I think that there's nothing there. I don't think it has anything to do with whether or not the Rams are going to ultimately trade for him, but this is what Sean McVay had to say in Hawaii. So this is the fresh news on Jalen Ramsey. McVay said there are, quote, obstacles that are standing in the Rams' way of making a deal, and they're trying to kind of lay out what those hurdles are. McVay said, what is his salary, and are we able to take that on just based on our current situation when you onboard a player that's earned the right to be paid where he's at? Those are things that you're usually planning months in advance, and obviously it was unforeseen that he would become available, and if you do execute a trade, what are they looking for in return? Is there a conversation to be had in terms of a portion of that contract that they pay? Are they interested in players or draft capital? So there's a lot to that. And just covering professional sports for a while now and hearing coaches talk about these things, this is rare. I just want to point out, this is rare. You don't find head coaches that are willing to go this in-depth to just kind of laying out kind of the thought process involved in trading for a player. I mean, if I ask Dave Roberts a question like this, he's going to tell me that is a question for the front office, a question for Andrew Friedman. If I ask J.J. Redick something like this, he'll say the same thing. It's a question for Rob Pelinka. But the fact that Sean McVay is going into some detail is, I find, pretty interesting, and I really love that about him. And she's very candid at times. And Jalen Ramsey, like he said, did not become available as a potential option until around mid-April. That is when the Dolphins general manager, Chris Grier, he made it known that the team's intent was to move on from Jalen Ramsey, and that it was going to be hopefully an amicable type of situation where you get him to a organization where he wants to be at. And from a timing standpoint, that is not great for the Rams because they're very buttoned up. They have their plan. They stick to it. And this kind of threw a little bit of a wrench into it. Now, it was also an opportunity if, from a salary standpoint, they're willing to go there and give Jalen Ramsey a new contract and absorb what he has on his deal. And I think that there's a lot of respect here. I think what the Rams are kind of indicating here is, hey, we like Jalen Ramsey. We think he could help this team, but we're not so sure we want to make that financial commitment and deal with kind of the baggage of having a player that is going to want a new contract. So I think there's a little bit of that there, so you don't want to sour that relationship. And you look at, he's a cornerback that's north of 30. So the decline is going to be coming sooner than later. Let's just be honest about that. And I think that the Rams, by the way this sounds, is they didn't really expect Jalen Ramsey to be an option for them. So they went forward with their plans before the Dolphins kind of decided to shop him. But the truth is, I mean, it's not like they signed any big cornerbacks, and it's not like they drafted one that they feel like is going to be this impact player this year. Now, ESPN's Peter Schrager, fan of the show, by the way, he said at the end of May that he's not getting the sense that the Rams are, quote, banging down the doors for the Miami Dolphins to trade them Jalen Ramsey. So I think that is consistent with McVay's comments, and they're almost looking at it as, okay, if there's a world where Jalen Ramsey can fall into our lap at our terms, and we think that we are going to be big winners in that deal as far as low draft capital, finding a way to get the Dolphins to pay some of that, and just not being in a position where you're saying, oh, we're desperate, we need Jalen Ramsey, he's the missing piece, we can't win a Super Bowl without him. They're not playing that card. And the good thing about all of this is that, yeah, I mean, from a leverage standpoint, if the Dolphins are looking at the Rams as potentially one of the better fits and deals to be made, the Rams are kind of showing, hey, you guys aren't going to have leverage over us, right? I mean, you're not going to be doing that, because the truth is there's not a lot of teams that would love that salary from Jalen Ramsey at this point of his career. He's not this all-pro super player that he was at his peak. So I kind of like the position they're in where they're not desperate. And the other thing we need to factor in too is you don't have a hard and fast deadline for the Dolphins to trade Ramsey. I mean, it's already well known within the industry that they're going to do everything they can to trade him before the season starts, but the Rams are not going to just go out there and just say, okay, we'll give you whatever draft capital you need. We'll take on every money you need. So that's not going to be the case here. So I think my guess is that the longer this goes and the less that other teams get involved, the higher the chances the Rams are that they actually acquire him, because that'll tell you it would make more sense for them in the long run. But it does feel like at the end of the day, the momentum of Jalen Ramsey going to the Rams is kind of dwindling a little bit, but sometimes this is how these things play out. It's the calm before the storm. And we saw in plenty of different times with this organization, that's kind of how it works, is you kind of don't hear anything and then things start to pop. So we'll see how this thing plays out, but that's the latest from Sean McVay. Now, speaking of cornerbacks, the Rams re-signed a cornerback that they recently just cut, and we'll tell you why they did it. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And a reminder that today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. And the NBA is down to one more game to decide it all. Game 7 of the NBA Finals between the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And right now, the Pacers are a 7.5-point underdog. So do you believe in Indiana to win that one? It's been an exciting series. Tyrese Halliburton playing through that calf injury. Hey, this is a big game. We'll see who's going to win their first NBA title. Is going to come Sunday. And FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. So head over to FanDuel. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Let me say that one more time. If you're new to FanDuel, this is the perfect time to sign up because you head to FanDuel.com, you place your first $5 bet, and if you win that, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. So make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Doing 3 episodes a week for the month of June. Tomorrow I'm dropping a roster projection right now. 53-man Rams roster projection. You do not want to miss that. But I want to give a shout out, though. Those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams, cannot thank you enough. You are what makes this channel go. And if you are not a member of that Everyday Listeners Club, I don't know what you're doing. Now's the time to join because the season is fast approaching, and it's just more satisfying when you go through this journey of Rams football together. So you watch and listen to every single episode, and you won't miss your Rams, and you won't miss a thing about your favorite football team. But here in our second segment, we're going to pick it up on the conversation about the secondary and talk about the Rams re-signing a player that they recently waived. The Rams announced that they had re-signed recently cut cornerback Darion Kendrick after waiving him last week in a move that saved them $3.4 million in cap space. And the good thing about this is they don't have a ton of depth as far as high upside depth at that position. So Darion Kendrick is someone that's familiar with the system. He's someone they still like. And now they have him back at a discounted rate. Sean McVay discussed this and told reporters in Hawaii exactly how this went down. He said, really glad he was able to get back with us. It was really just a financial business deal based on some things that he had earned the right for his salary to fall where it was, and once he got cleared, he's done a great job this offseason. I think his ability to improve, his ability to attack the rehab the right way, his flexibility to play inside and outside. Aubrey and Les sat down with him and told him, hey, here's a couple of different options. Here's what we think, but let's just make sure that you understand that we want you back if this is a place you feel you still want to be at. So that was the end goal in mind, and we weren't really able to communicate all that to you guys, but the end goal was semantically a business thing. Then you get him back. So basically how this breaks down is he was originally in line to take home $3.4 million with those proven performance escalators that bumped his salary up for the 2025 season. But the Rams, they weren't comfortable with that amount coming off the injury, performance stuff, how they viewed him. They just didn't see him as a guy that warranted that contract and for the guarantees too. So they released him, they created the cap space, and then you sign him to a cheaper deal. And we don't have the exact details of those terms just yet, but now we know it is less than that $3.4 million. I'm sure that there are certain things in his contract that can help his cause. So, yeah, I mean, look, this is a position like we've talked about extensively on this show. It's not a strong suit. They don't have top 10 to 15 cornerbacks. That's just not how this roster is constructed right now. Is Darion Kendrick even that on his best day? I think the answer is no to that. But still, I mean, he's someone that has had some moments for this team, has shown the ability to be aggressive tackler, not the speediest guy. But, hey, if the Rams want him back in their system, that pretty much tells you everything that you need to know about the fact that he can still help this team in some capacity. And at that price that he's getting, it's really not going to hurt you. It could provide you a lot of value. We were talking about having to pay Jalen Ramsey $20+ million for a guy that's performance has dipped. And I still think that he would upgrade the secondary. But still, I mean, there's always value when you're kind of in this market where Darion Kendrick is. Now, another thing that Sean McVay provided an update on is the contract status of Kyren Williams. So we've talked about this a lot, and it looks like things are trending in the right direction to lock up the Rams running back. McVay said there's been a lot of back and forth. There's been some good proposals on both sides. We are getting closer to hopefully finding a conclusion to this. now until that's actually agreed upon from both sides, we're really in the same boat. But behind the scenes, there's been a really good dialogue from Drew Rosenhaus, really good dialogue from Kyren and his group overall. He's done everything in his power to show up, be that pro, that leader, everything we've asked. We're trying to be able to solve that, and if we're able to land that, we'll be excited about that, but no different than really kind of when we spoke about this last week. But I think behind the scenes, there has been progress in terms of getting closer to what the end goal is, and that's to be able to get him under contract. Whether that occurs or not, we'll see. It will take that a day at a time and a conversation at a time. So this kind of made me laugh a little bit just reading this. It was like, things are going back and forth. Things are going really good. He's hopefully going to sign a contract. But if he does it, we'll see what happens. And hopefully things are going good. And hopefully we can get this done by next week. But we might not. Who knows? So it's a kind of this back and forth where it feels like there's the potential to get a deal done before he enters the final year of his rookie deal. But then I think that there's also a world where it doesn't. I think the number one thing here, though, I think about all of this is the Rams are going to clearly be comfortable going at least up, not way, way up, but I think they're willing to go up and pay him as a top 10 running back. And I think the big kicker here is I think Kyren knows that a lot of his success is due to this Rams organization as far as the fit goes. I'm not saying that Kyren can't go to other teams and be productive, but this is just a great system for him to flourish in. And I think he likes his organization. I think he likes living in California and being a part of this team. So I think that when you look at these types of situations, the player has to give a little bit if he really loves his situation. And I think that Kyren Williams really loves the situation. If he felt like there's a playing time thing, or he felt like he wanted a different role and more snaps, and he felt like that he was being underutilized and his statistics were reflecting that, and that could lead to him getting a bigger deal somewhere else, I think that you see things like that. I don't love the coach. I don't love the organization. I don't love my teammates. And you just like get into a contract situation where it's, okay, I'll stay if you pay me an insane amount of money where I can't deny it. I don't think that's the case here. I think that both these sides want each other and they're inching towards getting a deal done. So that's definitely encouraging stuff. It's absolutely clear that these guys are going to get a deal done. I'd be shocked beyond belief if they did. Look, I'll tell you right now, he's going to find a way to get a deal done. And you look at the current contract situation, he's in line to make $5.346 million this year. That's a major bump from the $985,000 he was making in 2024, and this is also due to that performance escalator, the proven performance escalators that the NFL has established that gives players more money and rewards them when you have really good seasons and you're drafted out of the first round and you get more stamps and you get those Pro Bowl selections. So it really is a form of arbitration where, hey, there's going to be guys that are diamonds in the rough that emerge that didn't sign those big guaranteed deals in the first round. So it's a way to give them somewhat, I don't like to say fair compensation because it's really tough to compare that to kind of the free agent money that they could be getting on the open market based on that production, but at least more than they would be getting on that typical rookie contract based on where they were drafted. And hey, you got to get a deal done. And we know the horror stories of Todd Gurley and how much they paid him, but they're not going to make Kyren Williams the highest paid running back in the league. And he's going to be a free agent after this year. The Rams want to get a deal done before that contract expires. And if he does hit free agency in March, the price could go up because if he has another big season in 2025. So from the Rams end of this, the reason why you want to get a deal done is because you think that you could save money on the back end, right? That you have exclusive negotiating rights with a player that is still emerging. I'm telling you, if Kyren has another really good year, then teams are going to say, oh, no, this is not fluky. This is who he is. And I think he is that already, but I think the perception would be a lot better for him if he put together another top 5 to 10 season, stayed healthy, and never underestimate the power of free agency. It brings the best out of guys, and they see that green light at the end of the tunnel. That green light is about those Benjamins, so wouldn't discount that at all. But coming up next, an update on an injured left tackle that I think is one of the bigger storylines heading into the season. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Okay, here in our third segment, more nuggets from Sean McVay out of Hawaii. And this next one is about Alaric Jackson, who's been dealing with the blood clots once again. Sean McVay said about Jackson, it's really unfortunate. He's such a stud. And what Alaric has done and what he's been through, you go back to the 2022 season, and he had these blood clots, and you know when you hear that, it's such a serious thing, and you've got to get on the appropriate medicine. So the good news is the doctors were able to identify these blood clots early, and they discovered them when they found something in his lower leg. So, yeah, basically, Alaric Jackson was feeling something in his lower leg, and it didn't feel right. So, thankfully, he went to the doctors when he did, and they did some scanning, and that's how they found it. So, the Rams do have a plan for him, and the plan is he's in Detroit. He's resting. McVay said he's doing well. That's where he's from, and he's getting treatment. So, he's getting treatment, and you got to get that medication to get in your system and do its job. So, the Rams did make a move to try to give themselves some insurance in the event that something goes wrong with the recovery process and he isn't able to go. They did sign veteran DJ Humphries, but right now, especially everything I'm hearing is that he is going to be fine to start the season, and that's the plan. That's the expectation right now, is that he'll be ready to go when the Rams begin their season. He did miss 9 games due to the blood clots in 2022, and then he was diagnosed that year. So thankfully, there is some experience doing this, and this is not uncharted waters. I think if you were Alaric Jackson, the first time you're dealing with this, even if the medication did work, there would probably be some fear, intention, some trepidation in there, just kind of wondering, okay, am I going to play through this? Is this something that's going to be life-threatening? I mean, you guys know those crazy thoughts you get and things like that. So the fact that he does have some experience with this, sign that new deal, it leads me to believe that everything right now is pointed the direction of him being ready to go when the season starts. Okay, some more nuggets. How about this? We have a update on Tutu Atwell. Sean McVay said about Tutu Atwell, obviously, Devontae was a real bright spot. I think Tutu Atwell is ready to ascend, though. Said, I think Tutu Atwell is ready to really ascend, take the next steps. Matthew was outstanding. Those are kind of the normal cast of characters. It's really great to get Coleman Shelton back. He talked about his command, his ability to elevate and uplift those around him. I think that's been really special. So, Sean McVay was talking about some of the offseason moves they made, and is this the year? Are we going to see Tutu fast, Tutu furious? Are we going to see him reach his potential and be a weapon for this team? Well, the good news, if you're trying to sell Tutu, I'll try to sell you Tutu Atwell here. And first thing I would say is that in each of the last 3 seasons, his numbers have gone up. So, no catches when he was a rookie. 42 catches in 562 yards last season. So no touchdowns in 2024, but he did set career highs in catches, receiving yards, first downs, yards from scrimmage. Saw the big catch he made in the Lions game a couple years in the wild card game. I think for him it's about opportunity. Can he get the opportunities? Can he benefit from Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams getting the attention? So I think that's the big question too, is how does he fit in from that role? Because Cooper Kupp, the slippage there. Puka Nacua dealing with injuries. I think the best version of Tutu isn't as a 1 or a 2. It's being a 3 that has less competition going against him, right? I mean, he's going against lesser cornerbacks. He's just finding soft spots in the zone and just making plays. So I'm going to hold out hope that Tutu can be productive for this team. They brought him back on a $10 million deal. I think this is the year. I'm going to plant my flag. I think this is the year that Tutu Atwell really does what he was supposed to do. I'm not saying he's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, but I think just the presence of him, having that ability to stretch the field, being a true speedster, can open things up for this offense, and he can play a role for this team. That's kind of what you want. Do you have a role in this team? Not, are you going to be a Pro Bowl or an All-Pro? It's, hey, are you a piece of this puzzle? And he hasn't been a piece of the puzzle for the most part. Can he be a consistent piece of the puzzle? I think this is the year where the potential certainly is there. And I think it's about investment, and I think it's about prioritizing him. And if they prioritize him, I think he can take advantage of that. Now, McVay also talked a little bit about Davante Adams, and there's a lot of gushing about him. A lot of players, a lot of coaches. It feels like he's absolutely aced that, hey, I'm the new kid at school. Everyone loves me, and the honeymoon phase is real with Davante. McVay said for Davante to say that he feels like this Rams organization is living in luxury, him saying that he feels rejuvenated, he said that means the world to him. He said for Davante to say that, it really does mean the world to me because of the respect and admiration I have for him as a person and as a player. Really glad he's in our locker room. He's made a tremendous impact already. I think he feels appreciated, and I know the guys feel appreciated by the way he moves and the way he's pouring into guys and just being a great teammate himself. McVay went on to say that he's been a real bright spot already in all the Rams offseason programs, that he's expecting him to just continue to get better and better as he becomes more familiar with the offense, with his teammates, and he says the sky's the limit for him and this Rams team. So, yeah, I mean, you're hearing what you want to hear, right? I mean, I wouldn't take like too much out of this. I mean, like I said, this is the hope springs eternal part of the offseason. And look, am I drinking the Kool-Aid on Davante Adams? I certainly am. I'm not saying I'm not. There's no doubt about that. But the good thing about this is, on the flip side, if things weren't going right, if it was, it's just another team for him, or he tweaked something in something, and no, everything looks good. I mean, it really looks like he's completely invested in this team, that there's just something about going to bad organizations and getting back to good organizations where I think that you really are getting the best version of Davante Adams at this stage of his career. And I think that that's kind of the mark of what the Rams have been able to do, is get guys at good times of their career. Like they do with Von Miller. It was a good time to get Von Miller. Even OBJ, when he came over, it's a good time to get OBJ. There's plenty of examples of this Rams team taking advantage. Jalen Ramsey helped. I mean, just a lot of guys doing things that can help them get over the top, and that's exactly what you want. I mean, you don't want to not have players in their prime years because those are great, but they're also expensive too, and you kind of go through the ups and downs of that. So I like the fact that the Rams have made it very known, social media and all this stuff, that he's fitting in the way he is. And yeah, if it means the world to Sean McVay, and I think that what would really mean the world to Sean McVay is if he put up a 1,000-yard season and help Matthew Stafford and company get another Super Bowl. But great to see Davante Adams, man. He was in a toxic relationship. It's like, of course, he loves Aaron Rodgers, but I just think that, yeah, he's kind of, Aaron Rodgers is a little toxic. I mean, not towards him, but just in the situations that he's in. He's in a great organization now, and I think Davante Adams is going to have a monster year for the Rams. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.